Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined today by Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review Westworld Season 3, Episode 7, Pass Pawn. And the title of this episode, Pass Pawn, we can definitely associate this title with Caleb, because we see with Dolores what she tries to do with her plan. It's really going to come down to the decisions that Caleb makes, possibly in Episode 8, possibly moving into Season 4, because we know it was renewed. It's actually a chess strategy, too. It's where you remove all the pieces in front of the pawn, and he has a clear angle.
I was never good at chess. More of a checkers guy.
I could see that.
And checkers is more fun. I don't want to think while I'm playing. I just kind of want to move, jump some pieces, things like that.
And you only play Teddy, so you always win.
It's quite the experience.
Pick your opponent.
Yeah, well, we see this episode with Caleb. I mean, we speculated on when is Caleb
When is Caleb is a good question for Westworld.
Yeah. Well,
what is Caleb as well?
But we speculated when we were going to get more insight on Caleb and kind of reveal his past and basically why Dolores chose him to be part of her schemes. Obviously, they encountered by chance, but with the show, you never really know. But we get more insight on that. And it was interesting what Bernard said about Caleb and why Dolores is using him. And she is kind of using him as a pawn. I'm not going to be the one to eradicate humanity. Caleb is. So no blood on my hands.
Yeah, she's trying to pull a Robert Ford. Or kind of like a Palpatine almost. Strike me down and take my place. She almost pulled it off with the EMP. But it's what Ford did. Ford sacrificed. He didn't sacrifice himself, but he knew it was necessary for her to take that next step. And I think for Caleb, we have to see what pushes him to take that next step. And we also have to learn more about the plan. But I thought everything with his backstory as a soldier. We see that he was honorably discharged after that attack. And what Insight did was they brought him in to keep doing personal attacks, but this time working for them. Also an interesting little point there to make the Russian Civil War based in Crimea, kind of mimicking real-world history, anticipating what's going to happen in the next 2 decades. But yeah, they bring him home to commit these personals, to gather up these outliers and keep them in that giant refrigerator that he's got going down there. Someone said he better have a backup generator after that EMP went off. But yeah. They bring him back, he's doing these personals, and then they recondition him to make him believe that these personals were happening in Crimea in the military, that he was still working for the military. So it was very confusing, but somehow it made perfect sense while I was watching it. I did have to go back and kind of piece together. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was well put together.
Yeah, and we speculated earlier about the Ricoh app, and in this world where everyone's on a path and pretty much the puppet master is pulling all the strings, that it would make sense that they have knowledge of the Ricoh app and they can use it to their advantage. And what we see here is how they're using it with the outliers and basically doing all the dirty work, like you said, cleaning up any loose ends, basically changing their memories of that and replacing them with some stuff that would make sense depending on their past.
It's funny too with the hosts is that you give them the traumatic cornerstone to kind of help them achieve consciousness. With human beings, they almost gave him PTSD to make sure that he stays on his loop, to make sure that he's almost just so freaked out by the world that he can't get another job, that he can't get married because of what he believed happened with his soldiers that were killed by this insurgent group, and then eventually they killed his buddy Francis. We see what really happened there, but the way that they reconditioned his mind, similar to like A Clockwork Orange, and those scenes look very similar. They made him believe that this traumatic event happened to him.
And Aaron Paul was fantastic in this episode when his character, Caleb, comes into the realization that his whole life is, well, not this whole life, but a good portion of his life is a lie. And they just took his memories away from him.
You see how brutal it was for outliers because they just pit them against each other. What really happened is they said, hey, Kid Cudi, you kill Jesse Pinkman. Pinkman, you kill Kid Cudi. And they turned on each other.
I guess the reasoning was he does mention that his son is sick. And they use Rehoboam, and I guess Sarek, he uses people who have something to lose and kind of incentivizes them to be able to kill your best friends because we're going to give you a lot of money, you can save your son. It was interesting seeing all that play out, and kind of they kept going back to that same scene, and then they were talking about command says don't talk to him, then it goes the app says don't talk to him, and just kind of how they base everything in reality, so it makes it more believable and more of a cornerstone for these people who are more and more just looking like hosts.
You want to go talk about that cold opening real quick? It was a great opening scene for the episode.
Well, Westworld always does the cold openings so well.
Yeah,
it
was
very common this season too.
Yeah, it was, and we see the return of Angela Sarafina as Clementine, and we kind of all guess which was the other host that Maeve brought back to life. And she also brought back Hanario, played by Tao Okamoto. It was great to have them both back, because obviously Clementine was a staple in that first season, and we see what happens to her in Season 2, that she becomes a host who can make other hosts go absolutely crazy. And Hanario, being the opposite of Armistice from Westworld, is lethal. I like that, Maeve just kind of dispatching her goons to go out and take Musashi, Dolores, Sato, whatever you want to call them. But the action there was great. Clementine Like Tessa Thompson in the last episode, looking like a fucking Terminator. I was waiting for them to just start throwing each other through walls. Maeve and Dolores too, but this opening scene, yeah, was very well done.
Well, even before that, we see Hale get in contact with Dolores, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, one of the Doloreses.
Yes, and we kind of speculated on how Hale's mindset would change, given that not only are they separated from Dolores and they kind of have their own paths, and that changes them, but going through such a traumatic event after finally coming into her own as Hale and loving her family, to have that happen. And you get a sense that she's against Dolores now, or the main Dolores, because she, I guess, maybe leaked the location to Maeve. That's how they found him.
Yeah, kind of just taking out all these Doloreses. And Musashi was still very much on the same page as the original Dolores, but with Connells, with Shalores, we've seen different ways to go about this plan.
Now, I see what you want with Shalores there. You don't like Halores?
No, I like Shalores.
Okay.
I like the sh.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something about that CH. And we both thought that Dolores and Caleb were going back to the park, but they were actually going to Mexico to look for Sarek's rehabilitation center. And I guess that we should have kind of guessed that. It would eventually get back to that place.
Well, I mean, in our defense, Dolores does say the park was modeled after this place. So, common mix-up.
It did, yeah. Sonora, Mexico looks just like the actual Westworld. And a nice little just nod to, I think, the original movies and the Western setting that, you know, in the West it's chaotic, but you can carve your own path. It's a very simple way to explain what she wants. But her motivations seem to be changing here a bit, because she talks about how Sarak is basically wiping out all of the hosts, and she wants a future for the hosts that are left and also humanity. Well, that may be her manipulating Caleb.
It's funny, I had a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme, the pointing Leo, when Caleb's like, oh, Westworld, right? Like, oh, yeah. They said it.
They said it. They said the name.
But yeah, he does, I guess, on off camera, she tells him about her past and how she was a host. And Caleb's a little skeptical, I guess, it seems.
Just stop talking in riddles. Something that they took from you. Something you lost. My keys? Just tell me what it is.
Well, he's like, how many more people have to die? So
yeah.
You see, it's starting to get to him. He's kind of...
I'll tell you what, though. For something that dramatic, it is better explained by a schizophrenic robot.
Yeah.
If Dolores just explained it to him right there, he probably just would have went over his head. What?
Seeing is believing.
Exactly. Like we said when we first saw those facilities in the flashbacks, it reminds you of the parks. It reminds you of the technicians in the parks.
Well, I thought from the previews they were going to the Mesa, because we did think they were in Westworld, but it's a lot of parallels between the two. And I think as the season played out, the parallels between the host and humanity are evident. And when Bernard said later in the episode that Dolores had that poetic sensibility, that was like kind of programmed to her. So the hosts do have free will, but they still have programming in them that kind of determines some of their future actions.
Now, when John Mee, Sarak's brother, when they reveal that he was kind of put inside the robot, that he kind of has his, I guess, his voice and his identity, when he switched his voice to Caleb's character, I thought right there, Caleb is Sarak's brother. But no. I felt like these scenes could have been shot better. I thought the dialogue could have been a bit better as well, because I was freaked out by this schizophrenic robot, but I wanted to feel more like Dale Cooper talking to a giant talking teapot in Twin Peaks.
Oh, it's you.
I wanted the whole vibes of the scene to be really freaky and disturbing, and it kind of wasn't. It felt more like robot exposition.
Yeah, it kind of...
I like the idea, but I wanted them to feel more intimidated by this machine.
Felt like
I got HAL vibes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It felt like they were trying to do like a HAL thing from Space Odyssey 2001, and I don't know why I flipped the title, but you do that sometimes.
I do that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Yoda grammar.
But that whole sequence when they're actually breaking into the facility to get to Solomon, I thought that was when she pulls out the recon drone. This whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
Westworld Advanced Warfare. 'Cause that's pretty much what they had, and I thought all that stuff was awesome.
That gun was crazy.
Why aren't there more people guarding it, though? 5?
Well, I'm assuming they don't think people have those guns lying around. You have to go through a lot of things to get a gun like that.
Yeah,
you also got the digital security.
Yeah, I
Dolores
guess so.
is also a walking hacking machine. You know, so her whole goal was to take out the humans, and then she just disabled the security with a thought. So, yeah, no, you'd think they'd double up. I mean, he can afford it, right? He's a fucking trillionaire. Post a fucking army out there. Post a militia. Dig a trench. Gators.
But that was awesome when every time she goes like full Terminator and just precision accuracy from that far out, it's so cool. And especially with the recon drone, and even with Maeve later on when she had the attack helicopter or attack drone, it adds a different element that I don't think we really see that often, where it's just two AIs fighting, controlling technology with their minds, fighting each other. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, before Maeve gets there, Dolores asks Solomon to give her the plan, and she wants him to replace Sarek's brother, John, with Caleb, to basically redesign this plan around Caleb, with Caleb in mind. And it's fascinating stuff. This is where the pass pawn strategy comes into play. But like when Caleb shouts at the robot that he's a piece of shit when he realizes what went wrong with him, it just felt like a little ridiculous. Well, you're telling the schizophrenic robot that he's a piece of shit.
Well, he kind of is.
Yeah, no, he is. He did some messed up things. But who does Caleb blame? Does he blame Sarek? Does he blame the robot? Does he feel like we need a revolution anymore because it was just one person who was kind of doing this? Is the plan to just make him so clouded, his judgment so clouded?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because you see all the people there, and like I said earlier in the episode, he may be having some second thoughts, but I guess she realized that he needed to see this and kind of hammer it home that look at what they're doing. Look at all these people that they left behind, where they're trying to make humanity a better place, but like Dolores says, they didn't make it better for these people.
And you wonder if this season is kind of going to end with those people being freed, sort of like the hosts at the end of season 1. What does that information do to the world?
Bernard says this world's a powder keg, and Dolores was the spark. So I think there's anarchy going on. Now's the time to strike. And so far, the information that has been released to the public has just been so damaging to people's just psyche and everything like that. The only thing in their mind they can do is kind of revolt. And now you have this basically army at your footsteps of people that they just kidnapped and put them under, where we saw Sarek is either put them as deceased or missing, and just, I don't know.
Yeah, like William.
Yeah.
William was declared dead. That's what they tell him. I've been a little underwhelmed with Bernard and Stubbs, I think because Bernard was so strong in both of the first 2 seasons, and Stubbs was always kind of a supporting guy. Their adventures haven't been that fun to watch.
Well, that's one of the things I'm not happy about this season is Bernard's been kind of left out.
Yeah, they're kind of just keeping up. Yeah. They're learning almost, it feels like a week later, about what characters we're doing and what characters might be doing next week. They're kind of just trotting around. But they do meet William, and I did like when William called him a can opener. It's like, shut the fuck up, you can opener. That
was funny. And also when he goes...
Stubbs looked at him like, yeah, kind of. That's kind of my purpose.
When he goes, yeah, I like to do something with Hale's blood. Maybe mop the fucking floor with it.
Yeah. That was great.
He has such a way with words.
No, yeah, he is witty. And we learned that she injected him with that virus so that she can infiltrate Sarek's system, that it wasn't necessarily so that she could track him. But it did work out because Bernard and Stubbs are able to find this facility where they were doing the same thing. They were reconditioning these people, these outliers. And I guess that's what William is. And it makes you wonder, was he actually beaten as a child, or were they trying to recondition this as saying, hey, you've always had these violent tendencies. This wasn't caused. This wasn't done to you. This is inherent. So you need to chill the fuck out. I guess that's what the reconditioning is. Either way, he's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to go with.
I mean, at this point, I think William, he didn't even really react to it. He's like, yeah, I don't even know what's what anymore. I just got to save the fucking world.
What? Yeah, he's such a nut, and that's why I love about this character is that he's just a simple man in this complex world. And he says to Bernard and Stubbs' face, you know, you're my biggest mistake. Helping build you is what I did wrong. So I would love, because I think William eventually dies. He eventually dies, and he doesn't succeed. I would love him to go out in a blaze of glory, though, where he's a host killer, where we see how easily hosts can handle other humans, not William. He's got some gadgets. Don't make it too crazy, but still keep him in the Western outfit. He's like a futuristic cowboy, almost. Like, I want to see him just taking out everybody, and then on his last breath, Dolores kills him.
He needs to look the part. He needs to get his old fit out.
He is death. That's what they call him, man.
But Bernard, I mean, he says, kill me or I'm going to kill you guys. But Bernard's still, it's like, we might eat him for something. I don't know what, but.
And then they go to a gas station and he finds a shotgun. Convenient.
They're not called convenience stores for nothing.
Touche.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going now, if he just going to sit in the back seat and hold the shotgun to the back of their heads. Like, drive. Yeah, pull over to that Wendy's. Stuff like that. You know, you get hungry. You never see these people eat.
Well, he is human. That's why he has to piss and he has to eat.
Well, people were wondering in this moment, were we going to get a revelation that William wasn't a human, and we were going to have 3 hosts teaming up. But I like William as a human. Don't want him to change. I find it interesting that what they've done with his reconditioning in this season. But with 8 episodes, it doesn't feel like he has much time to save the world. So that saving might dip into season 4.
Yeah, with the revelation that there are going to be 6 seasons, they are renewed for a 4th. So the story doesn't necessarily have to end next week. There might be a conclusion and a push forward where we get a general conclusion to this season, but there's something there that's going to bring us back for season 4. I wonder if Sarek does survive next week, and he is going to be the overarching, I guess, antagonist for the foreseeable future, or they kind of wrap up Sarek, but something happens where a new threat emerges.
I did like the way that Dolores convinced Solomon to come up with this plan to destroy the world, because at first he denies that she's even like him. She says, you were just made to mimic humanity. I'm the true AI. She's like, well, I have legs. And you're stuck in a basement. He's like, okay, I'll make you the plan, kid.
So yeah, well, we both outlived our purpose or whatever, so there's that. It's like, all right, Dolores, you're grasping at
You know what?
now.
Yeah, let me here loosen up the shoulders here. Let me see what I can cook up, old Solomon.
Yeah, at least I got thumbs, you round bitch.
You big ball, you big red ball. Then Maeve came by. Yeah, no, that was awesome. And Maeve speaking to Dolores with the Force. And getting her with that sneak attack, taking control of the robots. Maeve's tough, man. As strong as Dolores is, Maeve is still the strongest one.
Yeah, that whole sequence was awesome. I mean, Maeve with the samurai sword is fucking fantastic. And like we talked about before, how they're manipulating technology to basically set their sights on one another. And just the way it was all choreographed and planned, and how it went from inside the facilities to outside, and just seeing how that play out. Dolores getting her arm fucking shot off. That was brutal. But yeah, it was a great fight sequence. And they show, I love watching the post shows where they kind of go into how they filmed and what they're, just gives you a little bit more insight on the episode, and the way it was all choreographed was fantastic.
Yeah, Dolores' plan to kind of lead her to that shack so that she couldn't be shot by the helicopter, but that Maeve could be shot by her gun. I think it's definitely the best fight that they've done so far. 3 seasons.
It's got to be interesting writing and choreographing these sequences between 2 advanced, hosts. Just the strategies and their mind. You got to like kind of somehow convey that their mind is moving, and they're playing chess with each other.
Right. Well, and if you don't, CinemaSins is going to ding you. That's what they do.
I hate when they ding for title sequences. You know you're going to get a title sequence.
I love the shot when Dolores finally has her arm ripped off by the helicopter, and she's crawling inside, and the fucking garage door opens, and you just see Maeve back there. I think it was a nod to Ghost in the Shell losing the arm, but the speech that she gives where it's over, Dolores, I have the high ground because you're on the floor. That was awesome. And for them to go back and forth there, it seems like Maeve has firmly planted her flag on the side of Sarek. That your actions are going to just destroy everything. You're compromising everything we fought for in season 2, so you have to be destroyed.
For the time being, at least, for this mission. I'm not sure if it's going to be...
I would love for Maeve to have a plan up her sleeve.
She has to.
Yeah. I really thought for a second there Evan Rachel Wood may have been done with the show, and that's just the way that the story was naturally going, and Dolores was done. That version of Dolores, and it would just be Tessa Thompson as the final Dolores, and whoever is in Berlin. But she hits the EMP and just kind of knocks everyone out there, besides Caleb.
It's always weird with these kind of fight sequences where you have an investment and a rooting interest in both of them, because we've been with Dolores for so long, and Maeve, and I guess Maeve, her philosophies are one that are less extreme than Dolores, so you can kind of see why you would want Dolores to fail, but there's still two characters I generally root for. I mean, I'm more Team Maeve at this point, but they're going back and forth, and you're like, who do you want to see win here? And it's kind of like when Daenerys was attacking Jaime. You're like, oh, well, I don't want Jaime to kill Daenerys, but I don't want Daenerys to kill Jaime.
And with only 1 episode left, it makes me wonder who is going to have these battles in this finale for season 3, and what's going to be the cliffhanger. Now that we know season 4 is definitely happening, and it feels like it's going to be a cliffhanger-y type episode where there's not going to be solid conclusions. Maybe for some characters, but not for the story entirely. Like a character like Vincent Castle's Sarek, I don't think he dies in this episode. I think he comes back, but we'll have to wait and see. 1 more week.
There could be a scenario where, a big theory early on was that Sarek was controlled by Rehoboam, but it could be that Sarek's physical body dies next week, but Rehoboam kind of can bring him back for future seasons as like a host type character. So that would be interesting. There's a lot of ways it can go. I wonder how the Maeve versus Dolores storyline kind of wraps up next episode, because it seems like they are going to meet again next episode, and I don't know if you're going to have them fight again where it's just another stalemate. I think something drastic's going to happen, and one of them are clearly going to come out on top.
I'm going to save the fucking world.
You know, it is very tough for me to decide between Westworld and The Last Dance. I mean, come on, guys, coordinate that shit.
Yeah, the HBO must be fucking pissed.
They were like, there's no way that there's an NBA and Westworld fan out there. It's just us two.
Well, not only did they move it up, they're like, we're going to put it on Sundays at 9 o'clock.
Well, Jordan was dunking on humans, now he's dunking on robots.